to the tributes to actor Chuck Norris, known for his action movies and the TV show Walker, Texas Ranger. News of his death tonight coming one day after we learned of a medical emergency that sent him to the hospital. Tonight, Steve Osunsami looking back at Chuck Norris and his career.
Chuck Norris, the legendary martial artist and star of Walker, Texas Ranger, was a man known for his strength, discipline, and private life. Throughout his career, he had kept much of his personal life hidden from the public eye, even as he became a global icon. But when news of his death spread, there was one guest at his funeral who no one expected to see. A surprising figure from his past, whose presence left everyone stunned. Who was this unexpected guest, and what secret did they hold? This is the story. The outpouring of tributes to Chuck Norris. When news of Chuck Norris's passing spread, tributes began pouring in from all over the world. Fans, co-stars, and even political figures took time to honor the profound impact he had on their lives. Chuck wasn't just a celebrity. He was a true icon whose influence went far beyond his roles on screen. His legacy wasn't just built on his martial arts skills or acting career, but on his strength, kindness, and the inspiration he gave to so many. He left a mark on the world that will be remembered for generations. Chuck Norris was far more than just an action star to those who had the privilege of knowing him. He was a mentor, a true friend, and a constant source of inspiration. His dedication went beyond his legendary roles on screen. He was deeply committed to the people in his life. Always willing to lend a hand or offer guidance, Norris made an impact with his actions, not just his fame. His quiet strength and selflessness left a lasting impression on everyone he encountered, proving that his true legacy wasn't just his iconic roles, but the lives he touched. Texas Governor Greg Abbott also paid his respects, calling Norris a true Texan hero. Abbott's words were a testament to the profound sense of pride that many in Texas felt about Norris's legacy. A man whose fame began in Hollywood had never lost touch with his roots. Norris, a native Texan, was proud of his heritage, and this tribute reflected the deep connection he had to his home state. His dedication to Texas was evident both on and off the screen, where he often spoke about the values of hard work, loyalty, and integrity, values that resonated with many who looked up to him. Around the world, fans found meaningful ways to honor Chuck Norris after his passing. At his Hollywood Walk of Fame star, flowers began to pile up, a heartfelt tribute to the respect and affection he had earned over the years. His dojo in Plano, Texas, where countless students had trained under his guidance, turned into a place of remembrance. People gathered to pay their respects, sharing stories and reflecting on the valuable lessons they had learned from Chuck, not just in martial arts, but in life. It was a powerful reminder of his influence, showing how deeply he had impacted the lives of those who had crossed his path. Chuck Norris's passing sparked tributes from all walks of life, each one revealing just how deeply he impacted those around him. He wasn't just a movie icon, he was a symbol of strength, discipline, and resilience. His legacy reached far beyond the screen, touching millions. People from all backgrounds, from Hollywood co-stars to everyday fans, shared stories of how Chuck made them feel seen and valued. His ability to connect, to inspire, and to show up as a true hero, both on screen and in real life, left a lasting imprint on everyone who had the privilege to know him. As flowers and messages continued to pour in from across the globe, it became clear that Chuck Norris's legacy would never be forgotten. He had touched countless lives, and his memory would live on not only in the roles he played, but in the way he inspired those around him to be better, stronger, and kinder. For all his fame, he remained, at heart, a humble man whose character shone far brighter than any spotlight. After Chuck Norris's passing, tributes poured in from people across various sectors far beyond Hollywood. But which tribute truly stood out among all the others? What made it so exceptional that it sparked conversations? Was it the power of words? Or was it the physical presence of someone that changed the narrative of the tributes to Chuck's death? Let's find out. The Unexpected Guest. Amid the flood of tributes and heartfelt memories pouring in for Chuck Norris, one unexpected figure showed up at his funeral, leaving everyone utterly stunned. This wasn't just any guest, it was someone from Chuck's past, a part of his life he had kept hidden for nearly 30 years. Her appearance shocked those in attendance, turning the emotional day into one filled with both surprise and curiosity. Who was this mysterious figure, and how had she remained a secret for so long? Her name was Dena, and she was Chuck Norris's daughter, a part of his life he never knew existed. The revelation came in 1991, when Dena reached out to Chuck, revealing a truth that would turn his world upside down. Years before, Chuck had been involved in a brief affair, one that had resulted in the birth of a child. Dena, raised by her mother, had spent much of her life believing another man was her father. But when she turned 16, her mother finally shared the secret with her. Dena then wrote to Chuck, uncovering a piece of his past he had never known. For nearly 30 years, Chuck Norris had no idea he had a daughter, and when the truth finally came to light, it left him completely speechless. This hidden chapter of his life, kept from the public and himself, was a complete shock. As the news sank in, Chuck was overwhelmed by a whirlwind of emotions: surprise, guilt, and maybe even regret for the years he'd missed out on knowing his own child. Yet, when they finally came face to face, something powerful happened. Chuck immediately embraced Dena, and despite the overwhelming circumstances, a deep and undeniable bond began to form between them, one that would only grow stronger with time. It wasn't just the revelation of Dena's existence that shocked everyone. It was her unexpected appearance at Chuck Norris's funeral. As the crowd gathered to pay their respects, there she was, standing quietly among friends, fans, and colleagues. Her presence added a layer of mystery and emotion to the occasion, a stark reminder of the untold stories and hidden corners of Chuck's life. For years, those chapters remained in the shadows, untouched and unknown, but in that moment, Dena's quiet arrival brought them to light, leaving everyone to reflect on the unseen parts of the legend they thought they knew. For those in attendance, Dena's presence was more than just a surprise. It was a symbol of the complicated and often overlooked sides of Chuck Norris's life. Here was a man who had been an icon to millions, yet behind his public persona, he was also a father to a daughter he never knew. The funeral, a day meant to celebrate his life and legacy, became a moment of revelation, a glimpse into a personal story that many never imagined. Dena's unexpected appearance at the funeral marked an unresolved part of Chuck's history, a chapter that had remained closed for so long. While the world knew Chuck Norris as a larger-than-life figure, few were aware of the family secrets he had kept hidden. Her presence at his funeral left an indelible mark on the ceremony, adding a layer of complexity to the man everyone thought they knew. The story of Dena, Chuck's secret daughter, was one of the many untold tales that made Chuck Norris a more multifaceted figure than anyone had realized. No one expected Chuck Norris's secret daughter to appear at his funeral, but she did. Did Chuck know about her before his passing? What events led to her birth? And how did this hidden chapter remain out of public view for so long? Now, let's uncover the moment Chuck Norris discovered he had a daughter he never knew existed. A life-changing revelation. In his 2004 memoir, Against All Odds, Chuck Norris opened up about the emotional moment when he learned he had a daughter he never knew existed. Dena, a young woman who was just 16, reached out to Chuck with a letter, revealing that he was her father. For years, Dena's mother had kept this secret, raising her daughter without ever telling her the truth about her parentage. It wasn't until Dena became a teenager that her mother finally shared the shocking news. The discovery was a turning point for both Chuck and Dena, as it began a new chapter in their lives, forever changing their relationship. For years, the truth stayed hidden beneath silence, regret, and a mistake Chuck Norris made in 1962. That secret created a painful distance between him and the daughter he never knew. Then came the moment that changed Dena's life forever. Her mother finally sat her down and told her the truth. Chuck Norris was her real father. For a young girl who had grown up believing someone else was her dad, the news must have felt unreal. In one conversation, the story of her life changed completely. What she thought she knew about her family was suddenly shaken, leaving her to process a truth that was both shocking and deeply emotional at once. When Chuck first received the letter from Dena, he was naturally filled with hesitation. The shock of learning he had a daughter after all these years was overwhelming. It wasn't just the surprise of the news, but also the flood of emotions that followed. Guilt for the lost time, uncertainty about what this new relationship would mean, and fear of the unknown. For nearly 30 years, Chuck had lived unaware of Dena's existence, and the thought of suddenly reconnecting with someone from his past felt daunting. He wasn't sure how to handle it, and the weight of it all made the situation even more complicated than he could have imagined. But when Chuck finally met Dena, everything changed in an instant. Despite all the years that had passed, when he looked at her, he immediately recognized her as his daughter. It was as if a deep, unspoken connection was forged between them in that very moment, and all the hesitation melted away. Their first meeting was a powerful one, filled with emotion as Chuck embraced the daughter he had never known. It was a moment that sealed their bond and changed the course of his life forever. From that moment forward, Chuck Norris's life was forever changed. The revelation of Dena's existence, followed by their emotional reunion, brought a new depth to the man once known only for his toughness, discipline, and private nature. No longer just the fearless action hero everyone admired, Chuck found himself in a new role, father to a daughter he had never known. This discovery, so unexpected and profound, reshaped his identity. It wasn't just about his strength on screen anymore. It was about the strength of reconnecting with the family he never had a chance to build. It was a transformation that would redefine him, both as a man and as a father. For Chuck, meeting Dena wasn't just about discovering the truth. It was about healing and redemption. The past, with all its mistakes and regrets, suddenly felt less important in the face of this new beginning. Dena wasn't just a secret from his past, she was a part of his future, a connection he never thought he would have. Their bond, forged through time and emotion, became a pivotal chapter in Chuck's life, forever changing the man behind the legend. Chuck was aware of his secret daughter before his passing, and he couldn't deny that she was indeed his. But did they have the chance to bond before Chuck's death? And why did his secret daughter stay out of his life for over a decade before finally reaching out? Let's uncover the astonishing details. From strangers to family. As Chuck Norris and Dena's relationship began to develop, it quickly turned into something deeply meaningful. For much of her life, Dena believed another man was her father. This was the story she had been told, and it shaped how she saw herself and her family. However, everything changed one day when Dena accidentally overheard a conversation between her mother and another person. In that moment, the truth about her real father was revealed. The discovery hit Dena hard, turning her world upside down. What she had believed for so long was shattered, and she was left grappling with this surprising new reality about her identity. For years, Dena carried the weight of not knowing who she truly was, unaware of the man tied to her by blood. Her mother had kept Chuck's identity hidden, and it wasn't until Dena turned 16 that the truth came out. In an instant, everything she thought she knew about her family and her own history changed. The revelation was both a shock and a whirlwind of emotions. Dena was left feeling confused, grappling with the new reality of her past. Yet, curiosity soon followed, as she found herself yearning to know more about the man she had never met and the connection they shared. For many years, Dena struggled with the truth about her father. She felt a deep emotional distance, unsure of how to approach Chuck, the man she knew only through stories. She spent much of her life wondering why he hadn't been a part of it. The question weighed heavily on her heart. It wasn't until she found out that Chuck and his wife had divorced that she felt the time was right to make contact. With the unwavering support of her loving husband Damien, Dena finally found the courage to reach out. She hoped this step would close the gap and allow her to connect with the man who had always been a part of her life, yet remained a stranger. When Chuck received Dena's letter, he was initially hesitant. The idea of connecting with a child he never knew existed brought up a mix of emotions: surprise, guilt, and even doubt. But when they finally met in person, everything changed. The connection between father and daughter was instant and undeniable. Chuck instantly recognized the bond, even though they had missed so many years together. He welcomed Dena into his life with open arms, seeing her not as a stranger, but as his own flesh and blood. As Chuck and Dena's bond grew, it didn't take long for Chuck to embrace not only Dena, but her entire family. He saw them as a gift, something that felt destined. Chuck had always believed in the power of family, faith, and fate, and this reunion felt like a sign of a greater plan. He believed their connection was no coincidence, but something divinely guided, a second chance to make up for all the lost years. The more time they spent together, the more Chuck felt that this was a rare opportunity to heal the past and build a new, stronger relationship with his daughter and her family. Dena and her family eventually made the move to Dallas, where Chuck was filming Walker, Texas Ranger. Being closer allowed them to spend more time together, and Chuck made it a priority to include Dena and her family in his life. The bond between them deepened as they created memories together, filling the gaps that had once been left open. What had started as a secret from the past had now blossomed into a strong, loving family connection that neither Chuck nor Dena could have imagined all those years ago. Chuck and his secret daughter formed a strong bond before his passing. But what brought an end to their beautiful reunion? And now that Chuck's physical presence is no longer there, what will Dena remember him for? Now, let's explore Chuck Norris's final farewell and the lasting impact he leaves behind. The quiet departure of a legend. Chuck Norris, a name that stands for strength, resilience, and discipline, captivated audiences around the world with his incredible martial arts skills and his unforgettable role in Walker, Texas Ranger. For years, he became the embodiment of toughness, earning respect wherever he went. Yet, beneath that tough exterior, Chuck was a deeply private person, always keeping his personal life out of the public's reach. While millions admired him for his on-screen heroism, few knew the real Chuck Norris, the man behind the iconic roles. He preferred to live away from the spotlight, valuing his privacy even more than his fame, keeping the truth about his life hidden from the world. As Chuck Norris's career skyrocketed to global fame, he managed to maintain a sense of mystery. While the world watched him closely, he never let fame consume him. Chuck kept his personal life, including his family and relationships, well shielded from the public eye. For him, privacy was a treasure he fiercely protected. Despite the constant buzz of cameras and crowds, he found peace in moments of solitude, away from the noise and chaos of celebrity life. Chuck's ability to stay grounded, even in the midst of worldwide recognition, made him a rare figure, someone who valued quiet and simplicity over the spotlight's glare. Chuck Norris passed away on March 19, 2026, at his Texas ranch, the place where he had spent many years seeking peace and solitude. His death, much like his life, was quiet and low-key. There were no grand ceremonies or televised tributes to honor the man who had been admired by millions. The world didn't witness a grand memorial or a public spectacle. Instead, Chuck's passing was marked by the calm and privacy he had always cherished. His departure was a reflection of how he had lived, away from the spotlight, surrounded only by his closest friends and family, embracing the peace he had long sought. In a world where most celebrities are celebrated with huge memorials and public outpourings of grief, Chuck's death was a stark contrast. He had never craved the attention, the crowds, or the fame. His legacy was built on the principles of self-discipline, quiet strength, and integrity, not on public accolades or media frenzy. Those who truly knew him, including his family and friends, understood that Chuck was more than the tough, heroic character he portrayed on screen. He was a man who found peace in his privacy, content with the quieter moments away from the world's gaze. Chuck Norris's passing, while deeply mourned, reflected the very essence of who he was. True to his nature, he didn't want a public spectacle or an over-the-top funeral. He had lived his life on his own terms, with quiet dignity, and he left the world in the same way. The tributes that followed his death were heartfelt, but they weren't about grand displays of grief. Instead, they focused on honoring the man who had inspired millions, not just through his incredible strength and discipline, but through his unwavering commitment to living authentically and privately. Chuck's legacy was one of humility, strength, and staying true to himself. Chuck's death was not marked by the noise and fanfare that usually follows the passing of a global icon. Instead, it was a solemn, quiet farewell, one that honored the man who had always preferred the peace of solitude over the flash of fame. Beyond Chuck's passing, which was both devastating and revealed a secret from his past, did he ever regret the circumstances that led to having a secret daughter? And what could have made him feel remorseful for a past he had no control over? Let's uncover the shocking details. Redemption through reconnection. Even though Chuck Norris welcomed his daughter Dena and her family into his life with warmth and love, the burden of his past remained heavy on his heart. He couldn't escape the guilt of his past mistakes, especially the infidelity that had kept him apart from Dena for so many years. This weighed on him deeply, and he often found himself reflecting on the lost time. Chuck's strong Christian values helped him navigate this emotional struggle, offering him guidance as he sought forgiveness and healing. He spent time looking back at the choices he had made, trying to make peace with the past, while embracing the present with his daughter. The weight of guilt was overwhelming for Chuck Norris. It wasn't just about the years lost, the time he had spent unaware of his daughter, but also the deeper regret that his past actions had hurt others, especially Dena's mother. The pain he had caused through his infidelity felt like a wound that could never fully heal. This internal struggle led him to do something many would shy away from. He publicly apologized to Dena's mother. In a moment of raw honesty, he acknowledged the hurt he had caused, taking responsibility for the deceit that had kept him from being part of their lives all those years. Although Chuck's apology to Dena was sincere and deeply felt, it couldn't erase the past. The years they spent apart, the birthdays missed, and the countless opportunities to build a bond remained a part of their story. No matter how much Chuck wished he could turn back time, those lost years couldn't be reclaimed. Despite his legendary strength and the success he showed the world, Chuck was still human. He had made mistakes, and those mistakes couldn't be undone. It was a humbling reminder that even the strongest individuals carry regrets, and sometimes the past leaves an undeniable mark, no matter how much they wish to change it. But in welcoming Dena and her family into his life, Chuck found a sense of redemption. By accepting them, he was taking responsibility for his past, not just by acknowledging his wrongs, but by working to build the relationship he never had the chance to nurture. For Chuck, this was more than just making up for lost time. It was a way to heal, not only for himself, but also for Dena and her family. Their acceptance and love for him helped to fill the emotional gap, even if it couldn't erase the years of silence. Chuck and Dena's relationship, though filled with growth and connection, was not without its challenges. While they forged a meaningful bond, the long years of silence and hidden truths lingered over their reunion. Despite the love they shared, Dena would always be the daughter Chuck hadn't known about until much later in life. This fact, bittersweet and hard to accept, became an inescapable part of Chuck's story. He had to live with the weight of those lost years, but it also taught him something valuable: the power of second chances. Their relationship, shaped by time and secrets, became a reminder that even the most complicated pasts could give way to new beginnings and deeper connections. In the end, their relationship became a testament to the possibility of redemption. Chuck's acceptance of Dena and her family didn't erase the pain of the past, but it allowed for healing and growth. Though the silence of the past would always be there, it was no longer the defining aspect of their bond. They had a chance to create new memories, a chance that Chuck valued more than anything. Although Chuck acknowledged that he had a secret daughter, he still carried deep remorse over the infidelity that led to her birth. But what lessons can be learned from their story? Now, let's explore Dena's quiet life. A private legacy. While Chuck Norris was open about his relationship with Dena, she made a clear choice to stay out of the public eye. Despite being the daughter of one of the world's most famous action stars, Dena had no interest in seeking attention or fame. Her father's celebrity status didn't define her. Instead, she preferred a quiet, peaceful life, far away from the constant glare of the media. Dena didn't want to live in the spotlight that came with her father's fame. She valued her privacy and the freedom to lead her own life, free from the pressures that come with being in the public eye. When Chuck Norris met his daughter, Dena, their reunion was filled with warmth and emotion. Chuck embraced her, welcoming her into his life with open arms. However, Dena made it clear from the beginning that she valued her privacy. She had no interest in the fame that came with being Chuck Norris's daughter. Dena recognized that her relationship with Chuck was deeply personal and meaningful, but it wasn't about public attention or recognition. She wanted to carve out her own identity, away from the spotlight. Dena's focus was on living a quiet, fulfilling life, untouched by the constant noise of her father's celebrity status. This decision to stay away from the limelight was consistent with Chuck's own life philosophy. Throughout his career, Chuck had carefully controlled his public image, often stepping away from the attention he could have had as a global icon. His fame never seemed to affect his deep sense of privacy. He was a man who valued his personal space and preferred to keep the details of his life out of the media. In many ways, Dena's choice mirrored her father's values. Just as Chuck had avoided the spotlight in his later years, Dena too kept her life private, creating space for herself away from the noise of the public world. Chuck and Dena's story remained a deeply personal one, shared only with those closest to them. While it was known that Chuck had a daughter, the true bond they shared and the emotional journey they went through stayed mostly private. Dena didn't want sympathy or attention from the public. She simply wanted to build a genuine connection with her father, free from the pressure of the world watching. In a society that often pushes people into the spotlight, Dena's choice to keep their relationship private was a quiet but powerful statement, showing the world that some things are meant to be cherished in peace, away from prying eyes. Dena's decision to stay out of the spotlight also reflected the same peace that Chuck had sought in his final years. As he grew older, Chuck seemed to find contentment in quiet moments away from the public eye. His family, his faith, and his personal relationships became more important to him than the fame he had once chased. Dena's choice to live her life privately echoed that desire for peace and privacy. She wasn't interested in playing into the narrative that fame often creates. Instead, she focused on the personal connections that mattered most. When Chuck passed away, Dena's presence at his funeral was a poignant symbol of the private life they had built together, away from the world's gaze. Her decision to attend the funeral, yet remain out of the public eye, was a silent testament to the private nature of their relationship and to Chuck's legacy. While Chuck had touched the lives of millions, it was his quiet, personal life with those closest to him that defined the man he truly was. Dena, in her own way, carried that same quiet dignity. honoring her father's legacy by staying true to the private bond they had shared. So, what do you think about the presence of Chuck's secret daughter at his funeral? Will it earn her more respect? We would love to hear your thoughts in the comments below. Don't forget to like and subscribe.